This is Lew White. Recently there was a documentary done on the stone that you see behind me, this is just a blanket, but it's an exact size and reproduction from the original that's in Los Lunas, or Hidden Mountain in New Mexico. It's the Ten Commandments. And the documentary has a couple of things that are inaccurate because they've removed the name from the opening vocalization that was actually a song that was sung, and it was "Hear, O Yisrael," and they put Adonai in place of the name, as most translations do. If you check your preface of your translation, it will reveal to you that the translators adopted another device to replace that name, Yahuwah, 4 vowels in Hebrew. His name is not Lord, and we don't refer to him as God. That's not anything but a Teutonic sun idol. We have to avoid that. Exodus 23 verse 13 forbids that. But going to this Shema, the familiar phrasing from the book of Deuteronomy, or Devarim, that's the Hebrew title for it. When we look at the chapters 4 through 6, we understand that Musha, they call Moses, is instructing Yisrael with his final words regarding what they can expect in the future and what they're to live by. And they're to teach the nations these things. Well, in chapter 4, Musha, or Moses, opens his statement and says, "Do not add nor take away from the words that that were revealed to you to guard and obey diligently." And he talked about these things. One of the phrases here says, "Do not add to the word that I command you, and do not take away from it, so as to guard the commands of Yahuwah your Elohim, which I am commanding you." Yahuwah is not unconditional. These are conditions to live by, instructions in how to love Yahuwah and how to love your neighbor. And then after chapter 4, he starts explaining what those commandments are. There's a retelling of the 10 Commandments. From Exodus 20, we see Devarim, or Deuteronomy, saying it again in chapter 5. Chapter 5, he recites the 10 Commandments. And what those are the same ones Yahusha said to guard to the rich young man that came and asked him how to inherit eternal life. He said, "Keep the commandments, guard the commandments." And the young man said, "Which ones?" And he said, "Honor your father and your mother," and he mentioned a few more. "Oh, those. Yeah, I've been doing those ever since I was a youth." But Yahusha knew there was something he lacked. He had an idol in his heart, and that was his riches. So he said, "Lose them, give them to the poor, and come follow me." And the rich young man's name is not mentioned, but I suspect it was Mark. He finally took it to heart and did what he said. We don't know that, though. It's just my theory. Anyway, chapter 5 of Deuteronomy is the retelling of the 10 Commandments. And you'll see them if you just open up and look at the text. Now that's chapter 5, and he starts talking about the covenant. And you're not to have any changes in those commandments, ever, throughout your generations. Now chapter 6 is the one I want to focus on, because this is this huge gaping error that's being shown to everyone in this documentary that was just put up. I'll put a link to this documentary so that you can see it and watch it and see what you see. But they talk about something being hidden that's being revealed. Well, what was hidden is the name, and it's still being hidden. Even in this documentary, it's amazing. Anyway, in chapter 6, we see the Shema. This is a familiar text, and this is what the English translation says in chapter 6, starting at verse 4. Hear, O Yisrael, Yahuwah, our Elohim. Yahuwah is one. And you shall love Yahuwah, your Elohim, with all your heart, and with all your being, and with all your might. And these words which I am commanding you today shall be in your heart, and you shall impress them upon your children, and shall speak of them when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up, and shall bind them as a sign on your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes, and you shall write them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates. Unquote. Now that's where this gate stone comes in. This gate stone behind me is at Los Lunas. It's called the Decalogue stone. 10 Commandments are written on them, on the stone. And it's in real Hebrew. The only Hebrew there is the real Hebrew. And the text is far different from the Aramaic that you normally see taught as modern Hebrew. Modern Hebrew is actually inherited from the Assyrians. 10th century BCE, the Assyrians picked this up as a script and had used it for the duration. And then in 200 years later, Babylon inherited the same script. And then 200 years later, when Israel, or actually Yehuda, went into captivity in Babel, they picked it up and adopted it, Aramaic, called the square script. It's Assyrian, it's Babylonian, and they drug it back with them because they learned it. You know, for several generations they were living with this in captivity, and they adopted it. The prophets wrote in Hebrew. The 10 Commandments were written on this stone approximately 1000 in the 10th century BCE sometime, during the days of Shema. So it's 3,000 years old. It's the oldest Hebrew text of the 10 Commandments known, this stone. And they mentioned that in the video, and I really like the fact that they did. But of course the timing, they're judging it by a different appraisal. They show the zodiac, which is written nearby on some of these horizontal stones that are around the same area. They were written in different handwriting, and they were written with a Babylonian mystery zodiac thing. And the people that were writing this stone wrote them centuries before, possibly 900 years earlier than these other writings. But the Native Americans are Israelites. You know, the Lakota, the Navajo, the Hopi, and the Cherokee, and many other tribes. They dwelled in tents, they were nomadic, but the gate stone that you see here was to a colony. It was a colony of Israelites that had been sent out on ships by Solomon, Shlomo, the man of peace. And the name that's sung in this documentary is eliminating the name Yahuwah and inserting the name, it's not a name, it's just a title, Adonai, or Aduni. That's my way of saying it. But anyway, reading the Shema, you see that you're to write these commandments on your doorposts and on your gate stones. That's what this is. In the video, it said that some archaeologists assumed that this gate stone was some kind of a ritual monument, that they performed rituals in front of it. No. A gate stone is a place where the elders taught the commandments to the people, and the elders would sit by the gate stone, just like you see me sitting here. Hey, what's going on? Oh, there's the commandments. What do you want to know? Let's talk about this. Well, his name, his name is, we're to be immersed in his name, who is Yahusha, and we're to teach all nations to guard everything we were commanded to obey. And there's the heart of the commandments right there. That's what we're supposed to teach the nations. He is very conditional. He's not unconditional. These are the conditions of love. They train us in how to love Yahuwah and how to love your neighbor. And without guarding these, you're not going to enter the reign of the heavens, which is, by the way, here on the earth. Now, let's jump forward and think about this, too, before we go into this. I'm going to show you this card so you can back this up if you lose track of it. 2 Timothy, basically verses 1 through 5, the first 5 verses. 2 Timothy, I want to read that to you. Okay. 2 Timothy, chapter 4. Okay. In the sight of Yahuwah and the Master Yahushua Mashiach, which is saying he's the same one, you shall judge, who shall judge the living and the dead at his appearing and his reign. I earnestly charge you, I'm commanding you, proclaim the word. What word? That word. Be urgent in season and out of season. Correct, warn, appeal, with all patience and teaching. For there shall be a time when they shall not bear sound teaching, but according to their own desires they shall heap up for themselves teachers tickling the ear, and they shall indeed turn their ears away from the truth and be turned aside to myths. So they avoid the name because of traditions. And that's what we want to point out in this video. If you go and watch it, I'll put it in the link below, the URL, the link to the video. And you can watch this video and basically see if what I'm saying is true or not, because I'm trying to rebuke, correct, and train using the Hebrew, and that's the origin of truth. To the producers of Hidden Mountain official documentary, what has been hidden is still being hidden. In the opening vocalization of the Shema, Deuteronomy 6, verse 4, there is a replacement of the name of Yahuwah, which is H3068, being represented. H3068 is the concordance number, and you can just look that up. And Adonai is the replacement term, and that's H136. Adonai is not our Eloheinu, and that word Eloheinu is what they use for God, but it's Eloheinu, and it's H430. Now Yahuwah, H3068, is our Eloheinu. Who is our Eloheinu? Who is our Eloheinu? Yahuwah. No one else. Not Dominus, not Kyrios, not God, not any of these terms that were used as replacement terms, which your preface probably acknowledges that they removed it. Taking away the name of Yahuwah from being heard is monumental. The name is the memorial name for all generations. Let's get that point across, because his name is the centerpiece of the video. The gate stone being shown to everyone bears his name in several places. Maybe I should show it to you on this stone. That would be a hot thing to do. Let's look at this. Yod. Hey. Hua. Hey. Anoki. Yahuwah. Alahik. Yahuwah. Yod. Hey. Hua. Hey. In Hebrew. Oh boy. Let's get that across. Now I explained this it's an abomination to remove his name. And I did a Zoom debate, it was actually an interview that the producers had taken with me. And I explained it. And then the video got lost. That's what they said. Well, it's not lost, because I'm still here. and I'm going to shout this from the rooftops, whether the thing's lost or not. Yahusha commends the assembly of Philadelphia in the book of Revelation. He commends them for not denying his name, replacing it or walking around it and not saying it. Well, the Dead Sea Scrolls were preserved for one reason. The name was written on the documents, and it was preserved or written for a generation yet to be created, that they may call on the name of Yahuwah. Not Adonai. That's not even a name. That's not his name. He never said, my name is Adonai. If you read Yashayahu or Isaiah 42, verse 8, I believe it is, it says, I am Yahuwah. That is my name. And I do not share my esteem with another, nor my praise to idols. God, that's a sun deity of the Teutonic people. Translators admit removing the name in their prefaces, and I'll put a photo up here showing you the prefaces of the NASB and the NIV, where they explain why they did it, as if there's an excuse. Now, you can see Psalm 102, verse 18 also. It's saying, basically, that the name is written. This is written so that a future generation yet to be created might call on the name of Yahuwah. I think that's important, don't you? So let's get this straight. And I'm not trying to tear down the work of the preservation of this stone. They want to preserve this stone so that others can see it. But take off the Christian goggles and put on the Hebrew goggles, because that's where the truth is. Constantine invented the Christian circus, and it was done through creeds and councils. But we need to awaken to that fact too. A lot of the stuff that I say is so disturbing. It causes cognitive dissonance to the hearer. But when you research the truth by looking at the Hebrew, don't look at me, look at the Hebrew text. Open an interlinear translation online, look at the text, and you'll see Aramaic letters, but they represent the transliterated Hebrew words. The words are true, but the script is definitely not Hebrew. It's Aramaic. Well, thanks for watching this, and we'll see you in the next exciting video.